those of you who don't know me, my name is Philip Vonada. I'm the National Grange Communications Director. And tonight we are gathering for the third installment in our series on the lessons of the degrees, which has been led by our High Priest of the Assembly, Roger Bostwick. So this being the third, we are moving into the third degree and fall or autumn. And I'm just going to toss it right over to Roger to lead the rest of tonight. So Roger, take it away.
All righty. So as anyone that's familiar with how we do this, it's kind of an open session. I'll discuss a little bit about the degrees. Anyone that has any questions or comments, feel free to jump right in. And there'll be some discussion of how you do your degrees in your area. Everybody does it a little bit differently. So we'll kind of go over the lessons of the degree, and we'll also talk with each of you of how you do it and any questions that you might have. So anyway, the third degree, and as Phil said, it is fall or autumn, and we're trying to schedule these during the time of the year which the degree falls. We're less than a week away from the equinox, so we're real close here. I know at the very beginning of the degree, it's talking about the yellow grain is waving for the reapers and gleaners, and the rustling corn is hastening for the harvest. Well, around my area, they are harvesting, and they've been harvesting heavy last several days, and some of them started a few weeks ago, but most of it is just to the point now it's ready to harvest. So we're going to kick off with our third degree and our harvest season. The symbols of the degree are autumn, adulthood, flowers, the fruit, the ripening grain, and the emblem is the sickle. Anyone can see this. Try to get it back here. This is a sickle that somehow I had picked up, and it's got a P of H with a sickle on the back. It says Dalton Brothers, St. Louis, Missouri. Recently, I think Gene Edelin had one that he had come across. I've only seen about 3 of them. The one that I have, someone else had one online, and one Gene has. I'm sure it was something for possibly either degree work or installation of officers, or maybe it's just some emblem they were using, but it does have a P of H on the front. And it would work for just about anything that the Grange uses it for. So anyway, the lesson, as we said, is charity. First 3, hope. It's faith, hope, and charity, and with fidelity. So the third degree is charity. And that's one thing about the degree that we're in. And it talks about having an abundance in store of your harvest so that you're able to distribute charity to the needy. Does anybody have any questions on or any comments about how they do their degrees or anything special they do about the third degree?
So the third degree has the Harvest March in it. And I'm curious to know how other people do the Harvest March, because ours, I would say, is less than impressive whenever we do it. So how do other folks do your Harvest March? Ours just feels like a dirge in a circle. I don't know.
I've seen harvest marches before where the women come in in gingham dresses and the men come in overalls, like they're straight out of the field from harvest, and they're carrying either like fruit or something on a platter and give it to the candidates.
Oh, interesting. I was going to say, ours is the guys are in overalls, and we have red gingham long skirts that the women wear, and they go around, and they're pretty good about square corners too, for having been out in the field. And then they go up to they drop all the grain. They all carrying sheaves of grain, and they drop it off at series. And then they go around and go diagonally to the master station.
At our Grange, it's the men are in the gingham and in jeans, or like they've been out working, Well, we also do it with all the other degrees, so there's normally the black pants, it's with their suits over, they just put this over it. And the women are in bonnets and aprons, and they carry the wheat. And the men each have a sickle.
Has anyone seen this type of sickle used in their harvest march? When you said the men were carrying sickles, is there anything similar to that, or is it just kind of a? I've seen cardboard cutouts with tinfoil
they're-
on them sickles, and I've seen little.
They're the real,
like-
the real sickles.
Yes,
Yeah, ours are real
Are the real
sickles and they hold them over the shoulder.
correct.
The guys do.
I've seen, like I said, I've seen a lot of different ways of doing it. I think it really, it's a matter of preference in your state, what works best for you. It also depends on who's available
that
for doing the Harvest March. If you don't have a large candidate, large group of people, so you don't have a lot of extras for the Harvest March, maybe just enough to do the officers, and there's not too many extra sometimes, so it works whatever works best for each area that does it. In the instructions in the third degree in the manual, it says for the Harvest March, a group of selected members, 3 to 6 couples are as desired, form 2 and 2 in front of the lecturer facing the overseer, sisters all carrying gleanings and brothers sickles. These represent the harvesters coming in from the field and close of the day, bearing the fruits of their labor. And then they sing the Harvest March, and could also sing in or bringing in the sheaves. As they pass the inner circle, the second time is open, and the candidates, led by the lay assistant, enter and join the procession. Third time around, the bunches of gleanings are deposited in front of the series, thus forming a complete sheaf of grain. The line then continues around the hall to the station of Stewart and turns left and leads diagonally across the hall to the station of Master, opens to the right and left, and passes down the back of the center until all heads of columns again reach the station of Stewart. This will bring the candidates in the rear up between the two columns to the Master, who now exhibits the sickle and with its accompanying lecturer. So that's pretty much the way you described it. How you do it is kind of is the way that it is suggested in the instructions in the back of performing the Harvest March in the degrees.
Yeah, that's pretty well how Clackamas County does ours.
Like I said, the instructions in the back are pretty much just a suggestion of the proper way to do it or how they would prefer it done. But like I said, it's all a matter of how many people you have and what works best in your area. Third degree is one of the shortest of the degrees. It's only about, in the manual, it's only about 6 pages, so it's fairly short. It's in preparation, of course, for the fourth degree, which is longer, which actually gets your full membership, and you get a lot more instructions in the fourth. Of course, the Master, as it said there, the Master gives the speech about the sickle, and it says, I now exhibit to you the sickle. Like all the tools we use, it is ancient and honorable, an emblem of our order. There is none more so. It speaks of peace and prosperity and is a harbinger of joy. It is used not merely to reap the golden grain for the sheaf, but in the field of the mind and heart and soul to gather every precious stalk, every opening flower, every desirable fruit. Thus shall the implement prove a reminder of honorable employment, preaching its sermon of peace, of present prosperity and peace, and its prophecy of future plenty and rejoicing. So keeping with the educate and elevate the American farmer, the sickle is used to prepare the field of the mind and heart to gather every precious stock. So it's in the education and this education of the farmers, and it's also the dispensing of charity. So that's kind of what the sickle symbolizes in this degree. Anyone have any questions so far?
Okay, Roger, I'm going to throw one at you.
Sure.
So once upon a time, I took a Grange trivia test that my cousin made because he goes deep into the ritual and the manual. And it said the question was, in what degree are tam o'shanter hats appropriate? And they are appropriate here in the third, according to the manual. And thus I ask, why?
I have seen where that is acceptable, and I don't know why.
Okay.
I really don't. I've heard that, and I know it's there, but I don't know the reasoning behind a tam o'shanter hat, other than it doesn't have the brim to maybe get hung up in the sickle. I don't know. But I've seen that you can wear those, but I've never heard a reasoning why. I mean, there's a lot in that I've come across in the history of the origins of the Grange by O.H. Kelly, and there are excerpts in there from letters that he received from some of it was like Anson Bartlett, and there was some questions in there that he's answered maybe one or two lines and hasn't really written everything that Bartlett had asked or had done. So I'm thinking maybe some of the stuff that in the letters was left out. Most of Kelly's letters are in there, but some of the responses are, pieced together or partially removed. So some of those explanations, that's one reason I think we talked about in the Harrow being star-shaped. There were several things that Bartlett had suggested that were in there, but there was a lot of things that, was probably mentioned, but not in those letters. So some of that might be obscure and never been able to find. That could be one of those, why the tam o'shanter hat is available or optional to use. And I'm not familiar with why. Like, I can honestly say that.
Okay,
I've
stumped
never
you.
seen them used either.
I don't know why they unless they were popular to wear in the fields at some point. But for those of you on the Zoom, because JC just texted me, a tam o'shanter hat is essentially like what you see golfers wear now, like the little Scottish hats.
Scottish hats when they're carrying their bagpipes and they've got the little kind of a fluffy, it's like a
The little cute ball.
golfer hat. Yeah. But why they would wear those in a harvest march, I do not know. That might be something to look into history of, did they wear those in the fields at that time? I don't know. But yeah, it's a good question. It's something maybe to do some research on at some point, but why it's used, I can't tell you. That's one of those things, just like I said, the Harrow, that it's a mystery of why they use it. You can speculate, but there's never been able to find anything actually written somewhere to explain the reasoning behind it.
So you want to hear what Google says?
Sure.
It says the distinctive hat symbolizes more than cold weather comfort. It embodies the Scottish spirit of bravery, creativity, and enduring love for one's heritage. In Scotland, the tam o'shanter does more than just keep head warm. It capped off Scotland's rich past and bright future. So it's a winter thing, keeps you warm.
Yeah, it says tam o'shanter in the preparation. Tam o'shanter caps with russet trimmings are appropriate. But I think that's actually with the court robes, because it says preparation court robe, buff trimming, series yellow, pomona green, flora pink, and then tam o'shanter caps with russet trimmings are appropriate. So I don't know if that doesn't say it's for the candidates. I think that might be for
the graces.
For the graces, yeah.
Steve's raising his hand so politely.
Just a real quick Google search says that tam o'shanter in the Robert Burns poem was a farmer.
Oh.
But Roger,
And-
the Sam Cater, I would agree with you about the woman because it said court robes, and then that's listed underneath the court robes for,
Yes.
I've never seen it
yeah,
used.
for,
So yeah, that wouldn't be for the harvest marchers. That would probably be for the graces.
that's the way I would interpret.
And it says with russet trimming. So you're almost
Uh-huh.
assuming that it's got the color for the graces and then with russet trimming. So you'd have like a pink tam o' shanter for the floor with russet trimming.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, wasn't McDonald Scottish?
That's very
Yes.
Scottish.
Yes.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking I had read that he actually was born in Scotland and immigrated to the United States, but would make sense that he would have something of his heritage in the Grange. In the
That
ritual.
would make sense. That would make sense. That is something I will need to research, see if I can find anything about it. But that is interesting. And I think you're probably correct on something that the founders probably each contributed a little bit to each of the degrees, and they would want something that they associate with. So that's another good thought. Is that the third degree is one of the shortest. There's not a whole lot to discuss on the third degree. Like I said, it's charity. And to have an abundance in store that you're able to contribute to charity or give to the needy because you got extra. So they're hoping for a good bountiful harvest so that they can go out and, like a good Granger, of help the needy and raise the fallen.
So for the expert on this subject, or well, degree subject in general, how do we interpret the graces? I was a little bit surprised going to Lutheran church at one point, and they said, "Well, you guys are idol worshipers. Graces are Roman goddesses, and you can't do that and do this at the same time." You ever hear that argument before? That was from a pastor.
I have. I think that's kind of more or less it's explained in the installation of officers when you're talking about the graces, when it says that we place women in this position to show our respect for her and our regard for agriculture. We're really not worshiping the goddesses. We are respecting agriculture and using the ancient teachings of Ceres, Pomona, and Flora in that as goddesses of fruits, grain, and flowers, but we really aren't worshiping them. We're just placing women in a position as those offices to show our respect for her, because that was respected throughout history of the women in those positions.
Okay.
And they represent such.
Right. And we actually in the installation says you are selected to impersonate, not to be honored as, but you're to impersonate them to show our respect for agriculture.
Have to read through that part. Okay.
Yeah, that's on the installation for the graces.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
People have asked that before about Grange being a religious organization, and I've always said, no, it's not religious, but it is faith-based. That it's not a religion, because we are nonpartisan and we are non-sectarian. So we're not a religious organization, but we are faith-based.
And Roger, if I could say this, like for the manual says that the ancients worship Ceres, Pomona, and Flora as goddesses presiding over cereals, fruits, flowers, etc., etc. But we place women in these presiding positions as patrons to show our respect for her and our regard for agriculture, as you said.
Yes. Right. Yeah, it says the ancients worshiped him. It didn't say that we do. It says the ancients worshiped him. And as you mentioned,
So who are they referring to as her? Is that the person that's in the Ceres, Pomona, and Flora positions?
right, that would be whoever the person being installed in that office would be. Her.
Okay.
And that, Dan, that was the opening statement for Ceres, who you would do first for installation or describe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the opening or the first paragraph in that it's under series, but that's actually aimed towards all three. The second paragraph under there is about the series directly. A lot of times on installation, you'll bring all three up at the same time. Because the second paragraph in that is, you have been chosen to preside over our sacred rites as series and to encourage your brothers to labor with diligence and prudence. The first paragraph is kind of aimed towards all three.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
That's why most of the time, if I'm doing an installation, I'll bring all three up at the same time. That way they're all there to receive that first paragraph together.
Okay.
So this was a short degree, so I figured it would probably be a short meeting tonight. But I'm here available if anybody has any more questions or would like to discuss anything. Our next meeting for the fourth degree will be back as it was the second Monday. We moved back to the third Monday this month only because of the holiday, and there was that kind of messed up some other scheduling, so everything moved back a week. But the next one will be December
The 9th.
9th, yes. So it'll be after national session. I'm hoping I get to see everyone. If I haven't met you before, hopefully I get to meet you at national session this year. Or like I said, I'm traveling to Connecticut in middle of October for their session, so I might meet some of you then.
Great. Well, thank you, Roger.
All right,
I just
thanks,
want to
Phil.
remind everyone that if you don't have a copy of the manual and would like to read it online, it is available in the password protected section of the National Grange website. And then also just want to remind everybody to register for National Grange Convention in Bettendorf, Iowa this year. Looking forward to seeing anyone who's traveling that direction. And also to remind you to register for next year's convention already, because we're about a year away from heading on a cruise out of Miami for our 2025 convention. So information on all of that's available as always in Good Day Magazine and Grange Today, our new newsletter from the National Grange. So if you don't receive Grange Today, please shoot me an email or put it in the chat that you'd like to receive it. Just drop your email in there and I will take care of that for you. Everyone else, thank you for being here tonight. It was so great seeing you and have a great night.
All right.